Excellent. Thank you. All right. So we're going to talk about some different components of AI and how to leverage it into your practice to help you grow, increase your productivity. Lots of different ways that you're going to be able to utilize this information. And my hope is that at least at the very minimum, it stokes the curiosity in all of us to continue to look into this some more and to see what's out there for us, because the opportunities really are exponentially growing every day. It's really fascinating. So one of the things we're going to talk about, obviously, is the topic or the principle of AI. And AI is an artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. Specific applications of AI include expert systems, natural language processing, speech recognition, and machine vision. Basically, it mimics human intelligence. So if you can think about somebody or ourselves, when we are looking at things and learning at things, we take it in, we process it, and we start to compound what we learn. And those experiences continue to build on each other, much like crawling up the stairs when we were children, and then we learn how to walk up the stairs as children. Every experience builds on itself. So I also want to address what AI is not, because there is a lot of confusion out there about what AI actually is. So one of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that it is an automation device or machine, and it is not an automation machine. What it does is it takes data, it requires data, it basically eats data, if you will, and it synthesizes it and processes it. And that's how it learns. Again, like the analogy I gave you about crawling up the stairs and then walking up the stairs. So the more specific data that the AI machine is given, the more precise the outcome can be. So we have to understand it's not going to take over the world. It's not going to get to the point where we're going to get replaced as chiropractors or as parents or as spouses, anything like that. That's not what AI is going to do. And it doesn't apply common sense. It doesn't show empathy. So if you can think back to going back into the 90s of Data on the Star Trek TV show, he was a computer, right? He didn't have emotion. And that was kind of the biggest thing. So you kind of look at that as the parallel to what AI is not. The other thing about this is, and this is kind of a really important thing to understand right away, is that AI is not a replacement for your own thoughts, words, or creativity. So it is purely an unemotional processor. And I guess it's very much like the human brain without the emotion in it. So one of the tools that exists that leverages AI itself is ChatGPT. And I'm sure all of us have heard of ChatGPT at this point. So what ChatGPT is, it's actually a natural language program processing tool driven by AI technology that allows you to have human-like conversations and much more using a chatbot. So the language model can answer questions, it can assist with tasks such as composing emails, essays, code. So you can think of it as an idea generator or a fire starter. So it's a prompt. So what I also want to share with you is what ChatGPT is not. So it does not have the ability to search the internet for information. Now, to be transparent with you, when I was first learning about AI, I had the assumption that that's what ChatGPT did, is that you gave it a prompt, you asked it a question, and it went out to the internet and did its thing and came back, and that's how it composed its response. But that was actually furthest from the truth. What it does is it uses the information it has learned from training data that has been given and that it has consumed, basically, to continue to generate responses. This leaves room for error because the process that the ChatGPT does not know when it is wrong or when it is right. It is only giving you a response based on what it has learned. So it cannot predict the future. So do not ask it who's going to win the Super Bowl and then go run out and bet money on it. It is not a guarantee to win. So it is limited by only having access to the most recent date of the version that you're using. So if I remember correctly, the latest version of ChatGPT that I had been using was, I think, back in March of this year. Previous to that, I believe the most recent iteration of it was November. So it seems like it's about a 5 to 6 month window between versions that comes out. It also will not offer opinions. So again, its job is not to kind of think, its job is just kind of chew on stuff and then spit it out based on what it analyzes. The thing about that's cool is because it keeps learning, it's not static. So we'll keep learning, it will keep refining, and you can actually refine the responses that ChatGPT gives to you when you're conversating back and forth with the chatbot. So here it is. AI is only as powerful as the data we give it. So just like with the human body and the brain, when there's bad information that comes in, the brain acts on it. Its job is not to decide if it's right or wrong. It's just to take action on it. So if the information and the data that the system is getting is good, then the output that it gets is going to be a lot better. So with that in mind, we've got to think about, well, what do we want to use it for? How can we use it? So if we are going to use this tool and we want it to give us information, we have to start with asking good questions, giving a good framework, being very detailed and specific in the things that we're looking for it to do with us. So that brings us to where the rubber kind of meets the road. We want to find out, how can we use AI in our practices? So some of the bigger kind of high level things you can use it for, you can use it to answer specific questions. So if you think about patients that come in and ask the same questions over and over again, what you can do is plug that question into that chatbot and see what kind of answers you get. It will give you good ideas for writing. So if you are writing blog posts, composing emails, sending out letters to the local school district, those kinds of things, you can look for their prompts to start writing. You can use it to help you create social media content, whether it's visual content, whether it's written content, or both. You can use it to help you craft website copy. And the thing about that is you want to make sure that you are using what the chatbot gives you and making it your own. It is not a good idea to just cut and paste and stick it on the internet. And I will touch on that. And Tristan's probably going to touch on that in a little bit. One of the really fascinating things is that we're going to be able to explore as we get more and more understanding of AI is how can we use it to improve our systems and strategies and make them more efficient and develop those. I see your question in the Q&A. We'll come back to that in just a minute. So here's how ChatGPT works. You create a question and you give it some color, some context, some details. And in the sense of you're trying to get it to give you as specific of an answer as you can get it to give you. And sometimes it gets it to you the way you want it on the first try. Sometimes you need to give it some more color in the question. Sometimes you need to ask it again for a different context. And that's part of the whole process, is that it continues to learn. So I'm going to give you an example here of a prompt or a question essentially that I asked ChatGPT while we were putting together this presentation for you. So I asked it to lay out a 5-step process on how to take a paragraph, essentially some information or words that you have about a specific subject, and turn it into a video using AI to create a transcript, a voice recording, and a video recording, and then use AI to create social media content. Now, probably all of that made some of your heads spin, and that's okay. There's a lot going on there. Some of you probably could follow along exactly what I just asked it to do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next slide here, and I'm going to show you what the chatbot spit out in response to what I asked it. So as you can see here, I'm not going to go through and read all this, but if you want to take a screenshot of this, you can kind of see as an example of what the chatbot gave us. And we're going to send out this recording later. So if you don't have a screenshot, don't worry, we'll send the email to you in a little bit. But basically it walks through, and I asked it, remember, I'm going to go back and show you, I asked it for a 5-step process. So it gave me 5 steps, and it talked about all the areas that I asked it to. And it gave different examples of ways to go about to accomplish what I asked it to. And as you read through here, you can see that there's the nice collection of some manual or conventional tools to use, but it also shows you how to use AI-based tools to create the output of each step that you wanted to in order to give you the final product. And it gives you a nice little summary at the end. Now, one of the things I want you to notice in here is that if you were to read this sentence, This is not how I would say things. This is not the language that I would use. And what you have to understand, you kind of think back to middle school and high school English class when you're writing sentences and composing things and you're talking to people. You have to understand that when you are asking the AI chatbot in this situation to produce this for you, it is not in your words. So when you go and you take something and you ask the chatbot, for example, hey, write me a blog post about neck pain, and then you just cut and paste it and stick it on the internet, or you just cut and paste it and stick it on your social media, you have to understand that while the content may be accurate, it may not be in your voice. So you're going to need to understand that you can't just use this to just pump out stuff, because it's going to not work. People are going to sniff it out. And I think Tristan's going to talk about that in a little bit. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. You want to use this as like I said, as a fire starter, as an idea generator, as a prompt. So what I want to do is kind of take you through the next phase. And while some of those examples I just gave you are how to use AI on a kind of a singular level, the really beautiful thing about AI is that it compounds. And if you think about layers of an onion, when we peel it away, in this case, we're adding layers together, it becomes more effective, almost in an exponential way. And the process is called stacking AI. And when we do that, we stack multiple AI tools on top of each other. And each model can make use of the capabilities of the models below it, resulting in a system with greater overall intelligence, which means greater output, both in volume, in speed, in accuracy, in depth, in intensity. So whatever your process is that you're trying to create, or your outcome you're trying to create, when you stack them together, the efficiencies are improved. And that's a really big idea that I want you to kind of wrap your brain around when we're looking at this, but also making this usable in your practice with other things. So let me give you an example of how the output of leveraging multiple AI tools can come together. So this is from a practice in Idaho, and they created videos to answer FAQs that they were getting about a laser that they use in their office. So what they did was they went out to the internet and they went to a website, and they asked it for the 50 most common questions that people are asking about cold laser. They went through, curated those questions, or the answers to those questions, and they took the top, let's say 10 or 15, and then they took it and they asked Chat GPT to answer the questions. They went through and edited the answers, and then they asked another program to take the answers and create a script. And then they took the script and they fed it into another AI machine that created a voice track of all the questions and answers. They took another AI machine to take the voice recording and to create a synchronized video recording. And the AI machine created the image that you see on the screen of what appears to be a female actor reading or answering the script. So, and then they used an AI tool to chunk out each of the questions and create each video itself. Took about 2 days. And here's one of the examples of the final product. You're gonna need to turn up your volume so you can hear it. I'll give you a second to do that on your computer or your phone. I want you to hear it though, and just really pay attention to how amazingly lifelike this image is.
We receive a lot of questions in our clinic regarding low-level basic care. Patients want to know how they work, if they are safe and effective, and what type of conditions they can help with. We have put together a list of the most frequently asked questions. Click on any of the questions listed to find out more about low-level basic therapy.
That was pretty amazing the first time I saw it. Just watching her body language, her facial inflections, how she moved her eyes in response to the words that she was saying was extremely lifelike. And I can promise you this is only going to continue to get more lifelike as we keep developing this technology. So this is a great example of something that we all have access to at very low cost to be able to create something like this for all of our practices. So the principle of stacking the different AI machines together, you don't have to use multiple ones like in that layer to create the video. You can just do examples here of just using 2 or 3 together to help create things. So you can use ChatGPT in a program called Designer.io to create lead magnets. You can use ChatGPT and Veed.io to create those captions for your videos that you used a process to make. And Synthesia is another very, very commonly used tool. Has a lot of capabilities to help synthesize and kind of craft some of the stuff that ChatGPT puts out. So there's so many tools out there. What I wanted to do is kind of share with you guys some of the tools, both AI and associated resources that you can use together to kind of create some of the outputs that you're looking for. Now, some of these you're probably familiar with. A lot of you probably have heard of Canva, Fiverr, Upwork, Pixabay you may be familiar with. But there's some on here that are probably new to you, like Veed.io and Synthesia's on there, and Film Pack, things like that. So again, we're going to send this video out, so if you want to screenshot it or take a picture with your phone. But this is just tip of the iceberg, really. These are just some of the ones that are out there. But it has become to the point where we have access to so many tools to take so many different things in our practices and just go to the next level. It's unbelievable. So here's how you can kind of start playing around. If you haven't already, you can go to chat.openai.com, and that's how you can sign up and get access to ChatGPT. Wait till we're done the webinar today to go do that and play around with it. But I want you to go over there and just kind of experiment, start asking questions, and just understand how you have to go about crafting the questions and kind of revising the answers and making it more specific and really drilling down into things, just so you can kind of understand both how ChatGPT works, but also to kind of wrap your brain around how you as a human being can get AI to do work for you. And that's really ultimately what we want to do. And Tristan's going to talk about here in a minute is how you can leverage this technology to do work for you so that you can do more work and be more efficient and have more output. I think you're going to be really surprised at how intuitive this actually becomes once you play with it some more. So what I'm going to do now is kick it over to my man Tristan, and he's strap in because he's going to blow your mind with some stuff here.
I don't know about that, but we're gonna talk about some plays real quick here that you guys can be leveraging and actually implementing. I'm going to share my screen here. David Kazmaier in Nebraska. So ChatGPT is like Wikipedia. It's actually deeper than that. It's pulling all the information from the web for you. So it is kind of, I mean, there's some similarities there. The first thing I want to talk about is I use Jasper. I've been a big fan of Jasper, which is an AI writer. Now, full disclosure, as a songwriter behind the scenes, as what I consider to be a pretty good copywriter. If you guys follow my emails, if you don't, you will be soon. I love to write emails. In fact, my new launch is thespiz.com, which is a daily email newsletter. I have never, ever used AI to write an email. But I have used AI to write Facebook ads for me. I have with clients. I have used AI to write blog posts. We're going to talk about one of those plays and strategies that you can do and a couple other strategies with that here in a second. But I love this tool, Jasper, for, as Glenn said, iteration and ideas. I actually work with Glenn's chiropractic assistant. We were joking behind the scenes. She's super, super philosophical now because of going to Tim Young's philosophy talks. And it got me so revved up. And she was saying, I can't wait to watch this. We worked on a class today in my Twisty CA program. It's a training program for CAs to learn how to do digital marketing and do all the stuff, because there's so much stuff. There's TikTok ads, there's Facebook ads, there's Instagram ads, there's LinkedIn ads, there's Spotify ads, there's now Hulu ads. That's just self-serve ad platforms that you guys can take advantage of. And Linda and I were talking about today, our class was on, well, now we're building up our list. One of the plays that we did was we ran a giveaway and I'm teaching her how to do webinar list building. I think you guys, Glenn talked about that a couple of minutes ago. You got to be doing an evergreen webinar out there. And if you struggle, I think this is the biggest struggle that you guys have is, well, what do I say? What do I talk about? You can use these tools to help give you a framework and give you a reference point to start. Because I think the hardest thing for you guys is creativity. And I said to Linda, the power of Chat GPT or the power of Jasper is it's almost like having someone to kick stuff off, like Lennon and McCartney. If you think about John Lennon and Paul McCartney writing songs, I think in 2023, John Lennon would have said, screw it, Paul McCartney's a dick. I'm going to go write songs myself without a partner. And then they would start using Chat GPT and Jasper to write songs. That'd be scary from an art perspective, I'll say. But the reality is it's like having a robotic friend that you can kick off ideas with. One of the things that I highly suggest to you guys, and this comes from my background in my former startups. If you were at summer camp years ago, the first summer camp, I had my friend and mentor, John Sung Kim, the founder and creator of Five9, which was the first publicly traded billion-dollar company for cloud software technology. We created a company called DoctorBase, which years ago was ahead of its time with mobile applications for doctors. John stressed at my event, you are a media company. You are a media company. And that's a challenge for you guys because there's so many content platforms and there's so many ways to make content. And how do you stay organized and how do you do smart stuff? Well, one of the smart plays that you can be doing is creating content and creating a hub with your websites that is not just about the work that you do. I'm gonna give you an example of this. This was an article I wrote for one of my clients as we're trying to identify his target market and ideal client. One of his ideal clients is golfers. I would say a lot of you guys out there want to work with golfers. Glenn, you like to work with golfers?
Sure.
So one of the content strategies that I would recommend is it's really hard to hire, or it's really expensive to hire writers that know local searches. Years ago, I created a hub on one of my med spas for doing listicles. So if you ever heard that term listicles, the 10 best, the 5 best, the 6 best about local restaurants, local area attractions, because people are attracted to what's local to them and they like to fight, right? We know that on social, they like to argue. So we created this article. I don't know Tucson, Arizona. Used Jasper AI to write this article, the 5 best golf courses in Tucson, Arizona. And it populated a pretty strong blog article that we put on the doctor's website. We then boosted this post to the local area, and got really, really heavy engagement. A lot of it was obviously disagreements, and some of the content was actually wrong. So Glenn was talking about some of the data endpoints that the Chat GPT and these AI things. So we had terrible article. I don't care. I wanted engagement. I wanted to build up traffic. I wanted to build up retargeting of golfers. I figured golfers would read this article. They would click on this article. So we were able to create custom audiences off of this article that this would have taken me, if I had to do my research, probably a good 3 hours. It literally took 5 minutes between everything to have Jasper AI produce the content in their templates that they use. And I like to use their most popular template, which is the one-shot blog post. And so we can do this. Now Glenn's on here, and I can hand this over to Linda today. Now, in hindsight, I would have edited this, and now that I have someone local, you can see what inputs I'm putting in. Oh. And I'm gonna just have it do a quick round here.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to mention this. One of the cool things about all these chat programs is that, let's take the Spanish language, for example. You can create it to produce it in different, if you will, versions or dialects, if you will. Like Puerto Rican Spanish is going to sound different than, mainland Europe, Spain Spanish is going to sound different than Argentinian Spanish. And eventually, I know we're going to get to the point where you're going to be able to have regional dialects in the United States. Like you're going to be able to write it and sound like you're from Mississippi or you're from upstate New York. And it's going to be pretty cool.
I love that, dude. So you saw how quick this produced this. Now, again, hiring someone out that you would spend $150 to $300 an article on something like this, or spending the time, you're saving money, you're speeding up, and you're able to now create content that is actually relevant and digestible and clickable. If you know anything about me, I'm all about lead gen and building up traffic and driving people to your websites. This is a smart strategy, and there's a ton of ideas that you can come up with using AI for what could I write about local. But I'll give you guys a couple that you can write down right now. Top 5 health nutrition, or top 5 healthiest restaurants, top 7 golf clubs. We just did the golf club here. Top pickleball courts. Pickleball courts is growing. Other local things that you can do is, top, and this is great relationship building. So this is bridging over strategies from content to relationship building, is who are the top 10 dentists in your area. So taking that content that now Google, who's the master hub of this, really, what we are joking behind the scenes, me and Glenn, basically what ChatGPT and all these AI tools are becoming is, years ago, my dad used to text me, hey, could you Google this for me? And so essentially it's becoming a smarter Googler. But I love this strategy for you guys to build compelling content that's going to be engaging, that you never would have had the time, bandwidth, or probably budget to come up with. You can now buzz feed up your content in your local area, and it will drive traffic. It will get engagement. You will look smarter than your competition. I'll send that over to Linda for her. And you guys can go through that. It might not be correct. Like I said, it might be, but I didn't care when I posted it for Dr. Joe. So here's the second part. I've talked about competition. I'm gonna give you guys, I think, one of the biggest plays out there that is usable with AI. And there's a story about, you guys can Google this, this company, River Pools. They were fledgling along. They didn't use AI. So the life and job and task of this got really easy. They were fledgling along, and then they decided to, I love that David asked this question about Wikipedia. They decided to Wikipedia out their website. And I'm going to tell you, hands down, if you are the first doctor in your local area to do this as fast as possible, is to Wikipedia out your site with answering all the questions. Now, where are all the questions? I'm going to give you guys a couple places that you can look. First of all, Answer the Public, just bought by this brilliant guy here, has been around for a while. You can use a paid formula of this, or they have a free version of this, but even the free version will give you a good starting point of all the questions that are being asked related to chiropractic or chiropractor. My recommendation is, much like this in-ground pool company did, is start Wikipedia out your site with answering as many questions as possible using the AI frameworks. So you can see here, and I love that they actually give you the search volume on this site, so you kind of know what's most important and highest priority. You can start with that. But the first one in your local area, if you're the first one in your local area to have as much rich content focused on answering all these questions on blog pages, you are going to win the SEO game, which is still such, especially in markets like where Glenn is, in a competitive Charlotte metro area. You want as much feedable content to Google as possible. So what I recommend is using these questions, using tools like either ChatGPT or Jasper, which I prefer just because I love their setup. I love their templates that they have to get you those one-shot blog posts, to get you those content improvers, to get those content rewriters, all that stuff, putting that into and answering the questions and using it on text, and then using it to record your videos using the tools that Glenn told you guys about before. This is a killer strategy, but it's going to have to be the first to get there. Now, the question that you might be asking, and Glenn approached this, is you do not want to be just using exactly what they're saying. You can, but I'm going to give you guys a cheat here. There are now, and one of my favorite writers is this guy named Sean Puri. He works with a company called the Hustle Trends, and they are now using AI, and this will be available to you guys. Obviously, it's available to take your writing style. Glenn talked about this with dialects, and actually create what your voice and style would be using writings that you've had before. So I love using other people's styles sometimes. So this is actually where we could take a chiropractic and safety article written on Jasper, and I took it over. I'm sorry, I took chiropractic and safety and had it write like Sean here. And I took his article and I copied it over. So just only a couple seconds. And I used the Jasper Content Improver here. And I've already pasted in here, and I just generate. So if you want to hack and you want to cheat, it's kind of like funneling out and refunneling in other content. At some point, words are just words. Again, it's just framework. But if you want to hack and cheat and take one piece of content, funnel it through another writer for like Jasper's Content Improver, that's a really smart play. There is no word yet. And I'm going to say that my theory is, knowing Google's algorithm, that they are going to be focused on at some point disseminating, like they did years ago with duplicate content. It is very hard with the massive amounts of content. So I am not anticipating that there's going to be penalties for using AI. There's going to be so many people using it. What's going to stand out is the amount of content, and the traffic to that content. So you can gain that traffic by using social media ads, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, to draw that traffic in and win the relevancy game there, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Last thing I'll say on this is, so obviously using this to do content about your community, I think is a smart strategy play in an avenue that you guys haven't been thinking about. But if you could leverage that, it's going to drive more audience and traffic and steal traffic from other sources of searches. Using this to Wikipedia yourself out. I'm going to leave on one last note. Coming from the hippie side of my brain, the other cognitive dissonance. I also think leveraging the fact that you're not using AI. I truly believe at some point in the next year that, like gluten-free, GMO-free, that you will be able to say, if I do not use AI with my content and leveraging that language, that my newsletters are AI-free, that this blog post was written AI-free. For you, the more hippie chiropractors that get that and that aligns with you, and this is scary to you, the leverage on the other side, the antithesis of this will be, well, I am not using AI. So I do want to put that out there to people, that I think that that's going to be a narrative and a marketing play that you guys can use. I wanted to share those strategies. I think those are two killer strategies that are low-hanging fruit for you guys to implement right now and take away and start getting done. And of course, what I'm going to do is, if you signed up for this, I'm going to send you to a couple of my favorite places, but one of them right off the bat, you guys should write down, is producthunt.com. This is the hub of all the latest new technology when people want to launch it out. And right now I just have a search on AI in Product Hunt, and you can see and go through the list. They have tons and tons of different AI applications and platforms that you guys can use for different reasons and different problems. There's going to be too many to keep up with, but this is one of my favorite resources, not just with AI, but other just cool platforms and tools. So I hope that was helpful. I think I ran way over my time on this. We were going to go shorter, but if you guys have questions, put them in the Q&A box, and we got some minutes. We'll figure out what we can do, and I'm going to kick it back over to Glenn.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Tristan. A lot of information here. I know you guys are probably, some of you might be like, this is awesome. I can't wait to dive into this. Some of you are like, yeah, I'm going to be that office that says we're AI free here. I'm going to make the t-shirts. Get ready. What I would say to that is, just like with anything else that's new, and I've been there, I promise you, sometimes we get into that old man get off my lawn thing, and AI is going to be one of those things that I think you kind of have to, and we'll have a little come to Jesus meeting with, that it's going to be here. It's not going anywhere.
Yep.
I believe it, Tristan, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Moore's law that technology doubles every 2 years, right?
Yes.
And I forget how many years into AI we are, but it's going to continue to scale at an exponential rate, faster and faster. So you're really not going to be able to outrun it. If you decide that you want to outrun it, or stay away from it, that's fine. But I would caution you to not to go, I don't want anything to do with it, because you you just can't wrap your brain around it yet. And that's a very common thing. So take time, play with it. It can be daunting too. Some of this stuff, I don't still understand some of it. Tristan's still learning some of it too, but it's trial and error as well. But what I would suggest is if you are interested in trying to figure out how to leverage this stuff, shoot me an email, connect with me, connect with Tristan. We want to be able to provide some information for you guys. Ultimately, the reason we did this is we want to keep making this profession better and stronger and keeping it ahead of everything as much as possible, because there's so many people out there that are going to find out what we do in chiropractic because you used AI tools to get your message out. You used AI tools to serve your community better. You used AI tools to create a better experience in your office for your patients. And that's what all these things are going to really be in play for you. And so we want to be able to help you understand how to do that better. So my contact information is there on the screen. Tristan's going to be able to get you his information. When we send out the replay, we'll make sure that all that information is included in the email as well. Let's check here. A couple questions. No questions, just some comments. We appreciate you guys spending some time with us. If anybody has any questions, we got a couple minutes here. Fire them away in the Q&A. Tristan, anything last bits here?
I think that, again, I when we were setting this up, I hark back to what John Kim said about you guys have to be a media company. You have to be focused on, like, it's so weird to think like I'm a chiropractic practice. I'm not a media company, but you are. And even more so now, if you don't leverage and use these things to expedite and speed up, yeah. Yeah, we'll reach out to you afterwards and we'll help you out on that. I think if you're not leveraging and using this stuff to make your life easier, save money, then you're being a little bit of a dodo head on that, right? So there's so many ways to skin the cat, but I think the low-hanging fruit, again, for you guys right now is leveraging it as much as possible to drive awareness to you, to build your list, because if you're doing those two things, that's going to lead to what? More potential new clients. And so that's the basic streamline of that is being an entrepreneur and business owner is how do I leverage and use this to create more awareness for myself, build my list, and increase my conversions. And I think there's some definite plays in it. How often would I post? So here's the beauty, man. Gary Vee says post 6 times a day. The fact of being able to do that kind of posting is incredibly hard when you're not using help like AI. Now you could create 3. I mean, you saw how fast we created that blog post. You could create 3 blogs a day. Yep. And you could test out which blog is doing even better than one than the other. And then you can put money into the one that got the most traction and say, okay, that's the winner there. We're going to put more reach into that stuff. So I would recommend, here's my answer. As much as possible, if I can give you a number, I do like the 3 to 6 posts a day and across platforms. So again, this makes it easier to delineate and delegate that out because you have basically writers in this AI that's taking care of that for you. Same thing with your emails. If you guys get my emails, I can go 1 to 2 times a day. I come from the school of thought that your list doesn't care as much about your list as you care about your list. So if you can hit your list more by using AI to help you write emails, holy crap, I recommend going 1 to 2 emails a day. If you can get to 1 email a day using AI, you should see the ramifications on that leading to money in your practice as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. What I suggest too, if you want to go over to my Instagram account there, it's on the screen. You can see some of the work that Linda's been doing. She's, like Tristan said, she's been working with him for a while. We, I think 2 days ago, posted a video clip of me doing a podcast from a couple of years ago. Some of you guys might know Jim Chester from Chiro Hustle. I was a guest on his podcast, and she used some AI tools to create a video clip of me answering a couple questions from that. So if you want to go over there, you can see that.
Charles asked if I don't want to do any of the program writing for this. Can I just start? Yeah. Well, you can give this to your staff. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing with Linda.
Yeah. So if you guys are, want to hear more about some of that stuff, drop me an email, drop Tristan an email. We can talk to you about how all that stuff, and we can kind of show you around how to leverage all those things if you want. make sure we get all the questions answered here. Yeah, CA for sure. You know, and that's the thing. Don't get overwhelmed with this. It is a lot. It's fire hose, promise you. And there's so much stuff that we didn't even touch on in this 45 minutes here. But it's just, you know, it's like the green books, if you will, one page at a time. Just nibble at it. We'll get there. You're never going to be the expert. You're never going to get on top of it. So you have to kind of understand that you're never going to get ahead of it. What you want to do is you want to get in and swim with the current. You want to go with it, and it'll carry you. But you just got to get swimming first. So cool.
Get out there. Put your trunks on like Glenn is. Put that Speedo on. I appreciate you, brother. I like this is our first webinar we did together. I want to do more, man. I like I feel like it's the straight man in the jackass, so we can keep doing this.
We'll let the crowd decide who's who, right? Awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody's time. Have you experimented with using AI to grow the PI portion of your practice? I don't know specifically the PI portion, but it is absolutely. So here's the thing. I'm glad you asked that question. So the principle of using AI to grow X is going to be the same. You're going to figure out, what do you want? How do I want to get there? And start asking questions to create the foundation for it and then go toward it. It's the same thing to use experiment if you wanted to grow soccer moms in your practice. If you wanted to grow your Medicare, well, maybe that's not the right crowd for AI. But anyway, whatever you were looking to grow, if you can use AI to improve my conversion rate on new patient phone calls, whatever it is. So you can use it for whatever improvement you're looking at. So BJ, I hope that helps. I haven't personally done it for PI specifically.
Can I share a play? So again, how my brain works on this is I love plays, Benjamin, on this. And here's one, again, the fastest to implement this is the winner on this. So the beauty of AI and this stuff is you could create so I have done this with one of my clients. We created a hub site. Now, depending on where your market is, I know in a lot of markets, the PI patients come to you first, and then you have the relationship with the lawyer, and then half of the lawyers refer to you. Well, I wanted to bridge that gap. And if any of you guys know 1-800-ASK-GARY, I've always loved the play of creating collaborative ads with other PI lawyers. So I love that strategy. But bypassing that, you now have the ability to create a content hub, like wherever you are, PI attorney, or PI New Jersey.com. You can find a domain. You can AI a website up that has all the PI questions like we just talked about. You could own in your community as much as possible the traffic for when it comes to PI. That's the play and strategy that I think. I would want to be on top of that so that I own that real estate. It makes it really freaking easy for me to call lawyers and say, hey, we should talk. Because guess what? I have the traffic. I think that's going to be the play.
Yep. Dr. Kazmaier, are you fearful of overwhelming patients with this, or do you just stay with it? No, don't worry about it. You just put it out there, right? It's just like there's 6,000 channels on cable TV. If you don't like it, you move to the next one. You're not going to, unless you're putting something offensive out there, but most AIs won't let you create stuff like that anyway. No, whatever you feel comfortable with, but as Tristan said earlier on, you want to go across multiple platforms because your patients are going to start to see you on all these different platforms, and you have a consistent message across all the platforms. Your brand is going to be raised, and that organically will help drive people to your practice as well. It's a long play thing. Just like with any other marketing thing, you have to understand what you're trying to accomplish and that it's going to take time.
Sweet. Thank you, Glenn, for doing this, man. I'm gonna shut us down and get the recording over to Glenn's team and my team, and we'll be in touch with stuff, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. It was really a lot of fun. I hope you got some value out of it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Cheers.